What is up? It's Thursday night. Heading home from the office. We got to talk about the last video, or one of the last videos I made on the Mark Zuckerberg AI stuff, because I think a lot of comments rolled in from that. So really awesome to read through all that. Thanks if you watched that and had some thoughts. Thanks for your perspective. I think it's pretty cool that we can chat through that. I think most of the comments I was reading through were, so far, pretty much on the same page. So if and someone corrected me, thank you. I had acknowledged I hadn't actually watched the Mark Zuckerberg, Joe Rogan podcast where he talked about this. And so I had made the claim, or said that it was within 5 years that Zuckerberg says mid-level software engineers will be replaced. But it's this year, in 2025. Or that we won't need to hire them or whatever. I still don't know exactly what it is, but someone had corrected me. Thank you very much. I had a super busy day, so I've only kind of scanned through some comments, and I still have not gone back and watched the video. But I wanted to talk about this because I think it is a really important topic. I think it's worth kind of reiterating some things, maybe diving into a few different elements. So we're going to do that on the drive home today. If you're new to this channel and you're like, this guy rambles too much, it's literally a vlog channel. If you don't like it, that's totally cool. Don't watch it. You can check out my other channel, which is called Dev Leader. And on that channel, I have edited YouTube videos. So I talk about similar topics in terms of software engineering, programming tutorials and things like that. They're way more succinct. They're, like I said, they're edited. They even got thumbnails. This channel doesn't. So if you want your questions and stuff answered on this channel, let me know in the comments or send a message to Dev Leader on social media. Happy to go through that. And you can also check out the live stream that I have on that main channel. It's Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. So check that out. Similar stuff that we talk about here, except there's chat. So if you want to go back and forth in the chat and we can talk about things, I can answer questions for you. Happy to do that. So the background that I'll give you before I dive into some of this discussion on the Zuckerberg stuff and AI and software engineers is that I am a principal software engineering manager at Microsoft. I've been managing engineering teams for just over 12 years now, and used to work at a startup before Microsoft, but I've been at Microsoft for about 5 years now. So that's some of my history. I still write code every single day outside of work. So I still am a developer at heart. So it's not like, it's kind of funny when I read through comments and stuff, or when people respond to me, it's like, I don't know what impression they get of me, which is kind of interesting. Like, is this guy a programmer? Is this guy a manager? Is this guy just some random dude on the internet? I'm all the above, which is great. So when I talk about my experiences or my perspective, I'm trying to share it from multiple angles. And of course, when I share my perspective, I'm not trying to tell you that my way is the right way or that it's the only way. I'm just trying to share with you my perspective. If that didn't sound wordy enough or rambly enough, then buckle up, because the rest of the video is going to be kind of like that. We got assholes on the highway that can't drive properly, so you'll hear more about that. Here we go. We got to get out of the crappy driver zone. I can't stand that people are trying to merge onto highways and aren't yet at the speed limit. Doesn't work too well, and then you're stuck behind them. Okay, now that we're at steady state on the highway, I think one of my big takeaways from reading comments and stuff on that last video is that it's good to see that there are people acknowledging that, like, a lot of what's being put out is, I don't know if it's necessarily like fear-mongering on purpose, but like it's at least like the side effect. There is a ton of fear, right? And I think people are acknowledging that a lot of it is perpetuated by media, or it's perpetuated by companies. Like I think we're kind of joking, like in the video I made on the Mark Zuckerberg comments before. And in the comments, it's like I don't hate Mark Zuckerberg. It's kind of like an irrational thing for me to claim. I just don't agree with a statement that says like we will replace all software engineers, mid-level or senior, whatever it is, with AI this year, and I don't even think within the next 5 years. And then I'm going to come back to that in just a second. And like I was making a joke that I was going to accidentally say Elon, and like I also don't like necessarily hate Elon. I think Elon says and does some stuff that I think is pretty stupid. Come on, buddy. Come on, get in here. Thank you. Okay. But like, so like some things that he does, I'm like, hey, it's like, it's really impressive. It's cool. But other things I'm like, I don't like agree with that at all. But that's not the point. I just thought that I was going to confuse the names and then embarrass myself a tremendous amount, which wasn't so bad. But okay, let me get over one more lane. Excellent. Okay, I wanted to go back to the point around AI replacing engineers. And like I said, I have not watched it still. And someone added into the comments on the other video saying, I don't think that he's necessarily suggesting we will literally replace the engineers with AI, but that AI will be able to do the work of those engineers. As in, if you wanted to continue to build out a team, you could start introducing AI to basically add capacity to a team. Or that if you look at your overall effectiveness of a team, it would be like having more engineers at that level. And I think like that's actually a statement that I think is a lot more interesting and a lot more plausible and a lot less fear-mongering-ish, right? I still don't believe it like this year. And the reason is that like, at least not as like I couldn't say that with a high degree of confidence in many companies. And that's because someone else said it pretty well in a comment. Like, I think people underestimate like a lot of the complexity that exists in actual software engineering. And I added, compared to just like write a program that does some task. That's not software engineering. Like that's a small part of what happens in software engineering. So I think that we're a long way off from that still, like a very far off from that. And I'm not opposed or like afraid of AI getting to that point. Like I think it's cool. I think it's exciting. As all this stuff is coming out and they're talking about AI advancements, personally, I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, my job is in jeopardy. Like I'm an engineering manager. What happens when all of the engineers are replaced by AI? Like what do I do? Right? Like I'm not worried about that at all. And one of the things I was trying to get across in the other video was like, even if that does happen, someone else said it really well in the comments. I'm just trying to iterate on some of the comments that came up, but let's assume that happens, okay? Let's assume that in 2025, companies are stopping hiring engineers of certain levels or under certain levels, whatever it happens to be. It doesn't mean that those engineers are no longer valid or valuable, right? There's always going to be software that needs to be built. Always. So someone had said, like, what's to stop those engineers, the software developers, right, from being like, I want to build software, I'm going to go build software. There's going to be more people starting companies because they're more able to. I just think that there's a lot of different directions this can go. But one of the key takeaways is like, it absolutely is going to be changing how software development looks. It already is. And I think this is one of those things where it's like, like whether you like it or not, unfortunately, but I think it's a reality. whether you like it or not, software development will be permanently affected by this. And by extension, I would say probably many jobs are going to be permanently affected or already have been permanently affected by this. But I think a lot of times people look at this like it's a terrifying thing, right? I see it all of the time online as a content creator or someone that's getting questions from junior engineers or people that are like, well, I'm giving up on being a software developer. There's no hope in this career. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, I'm partway through college or university. Like, I just give up. I can see tons of people are afraid of this. And I think it's because there is this message that's like, AI will literally just remove the need for software development jobs. Like, if AI exists, therefore, software developer does not need to exist. And I just don't think that that's like an accurate statement at all. I think AI exists and that will affect how software is developed is a true statement. I think that AI exists and how you develop software in terms of, I don't know, your throughput or your capabilities and stuff like that being changed is a true statement. But like, to say that we just don't need software developers, I think is misleading. One of the other things that gets compounded here is that I know a lot of people are struggling in the job market, and then they have this layered on top, so it's like a double whammy, like this feels like absolute shit kind of thing. And I think there's a lot of connecting these two things, like they're coupled together. Then you layer on one more thing, which is they see layoffs happening at companies, right? Companies are laying people off, and we have AI, and it's already super competitive. Like, it's the end of the world. And it's just like, I don't know at what point I stop trying to, like, I don't know, bring visibility to this or try to change anyone's mind. It's like, I kind of said it in the other video, but like, if you are already hell-bent on the fact that you think that there's not going to be software development jobs and it's a waste of time, like, I guess that's cool, man. I don't know, like, it doesn't really affect me, I guess, what your opinion is on it. The only reason I'm trying to talk about this is, I mean, number one, because I don't think that it's accurate, personally. I don't think it's accurate. And number two is, like, I think there are so many people that have the potential to do great things as software developers still. And they're going to basically not pursue a career in it because they think that it will cease to exist. And that, I think that's the part that kind of bothers me, is like, for the people that it's just that they're afraid. I would love to, like, try and reinstill some confidence that, like, it's not going to evaporate. It's not going away. It will change. But all our careers are going to change because of AI. And they're going to change because automation. They have been changing for forever because of automation. You know, like, that's just a reality. So you can, like, my take on this is, like, you can be paralyzed by the fear and say, well, I'm just not going to do anything about it and remain fearful. You can say, I'm so afraid of it that I will just move away from it entirely. And, like, I think that sucks, because I don't want that for you. If you are very interested in software development, you enjoy it, you think it's interesting. But, like, at the end of the day, like, I can't do anything about that, aside from just, like, try and reinstill some confidence. But, like, I'm still going to be either managing teams of engineers, or if the AI replaces all of them, like, I will be doing something related to building software. And why do I say that with confidence? And it's because I fully intend on riding the wave of whatever AI is bringing. instead of just being fearful of it changing things. I think that's one of the scarier parts about all of this is like, there's always going to be things that disrupt. Always. There will always be things that disrupt. So what do? Do you just say, well, screw it, I guess, like, I guess we give up? Or do you say, okay, it's going to be disrupted and we have to adapt and change? I don't know. Like, my mentality is always like kind of thinking about how this evolves. I got stuck behind a bus, for the record. I wanted to bring this up because I'm very upset now. I'm in the fast lane, stuck behind a bus that is not going the speed limit. I also have to pay money to be in this lane, which is why it's extra frustrating. So I'm paying money to literally go slow, and I can't leave it legally until there's an opening. Just like, want to smash the steering wheel. But yeah, I think like, I don't know. I think it's overhyped in terms of how much fear there is. Like, that's like through the roof. I think people get into like echo chambers and they're perpetuating it. Like, not a good spot. But like, I also don't blame new people for it, right? Like, you haven't been in the industry. I think like, so I've been professionally, outside of my 2 full years of internships, I gotta pass this. Oh, this guy's passing me first. Oh, come on. Let's go. Screw you, bus. So yeah, outside of my like 2 years of internships, I've been building software for like over 12 years professionally, and it's not something that can just be replaced by like literally taking, like, I don't need this engineer physically, I don't need a human being on this, and I can just like prompt it out. There are certain parts of the job that yes, that could happen, but in terms of literally replacing people, it's just not, it ain't it. And I don't know if I hear people talk about this, but I wanted to kind of bring it up. I would love to hear from you if you work on a software development team that doesn't have the equivalent to a backlog that's completely like infinite. There's always so much damn work to do that it's not like I'm in a position where I would be like, oh man, I can finally get rid of the engineers on my team and just replace them with AI, haha. Like, no, it would be like, hey, you told me that AI can do the job of these engineers? Great, how do I spin some of those up? Because our backlog is ridiculous. There's always so much to do. For me, it's not a matter of looking at this like how do we cut costs and replace the humans? It's like, how do we enhance what's going on? So I just don't know if people like have an understanding of how complex this stuff gets. It's not just massage the code, not just like fix the bug, like find the bug. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, but I don't know, like in time, I can't imagine. And I'm not, when I say I can't imagine, what I'm not saying is it is impossible. So please don't interpret it that way. I cannot imagine how much AI would have to advance before it would literally make sense to not have people involved in building software. Someone else in the comments of the other video had said, so like what would that actually look like? So you have a company whose entire code base is just built using AI, and then you just continue to use AI to build the code and just hope that it keeps working. Like I don't think we're close to that. I don't think we're close to that. Now, it's worth mentioning that, like, I have, and I'm, there's more than one person that's done this, I'm sure. But I have a friend of mine who, and I've talked about him before. I'm not going to say his name, but I've talked about him before. He's self-proclaimed, like, I don't know how to build, like, I'm not a programmer. I don't know how to build software. Like, it's just not me, man. But, like, he's literally put together entire applications, deployed them, and literally has gotten contracts as essentially a solo developer. I've given him a little bit of guidance, but essentially as a solo developer, to go build software for a company. And he used AI for, like, all of it. But the difference is that he didn't say, hey, ChatGPT, go build this whole thing. He had to go, like, understand the system that he wanted to build. He had to go understand the requirements. He had to go iterate on those. He had to go interpret what the customer was asking for, make sense of it in terms of how to build that in a system. He had to figure out, like, I think some people don't realize this too, like, you're not always just working with perfect state, right? You might have something deployed in production and you're like, hey, if this wasn't live, the fix for it would be trivial. But the fact that it's live and I have to migrate data, or I have to, deploy this thing while this other thing's going, like, there's so much complexity that comes in, and he still had to go figure that stuff out. So there's sort of like a different level of thinking through these things. And even though this guy would say he's not a programmer, I still think that he has the right thinking that goes along with it. And I think it's a perfect example of he's someone that was able to essentially leverage AI to be more effective. He couldn't just spin up an agent and say, hey, agent, go build this whole thing and I'll see you in 7 hours when it's all done. I don't think we're near that yet. But I don't know. Maybe I don't know anything. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's a shame that people are really afraid of this stuff. I don't necessarily blame them. And I'm definitely curious about more people's thoughts on this thing, right? Like, do you see it as an inevitable thing that will happen someday? Because the way I think about it is almost like, will it happen someday? I kind of feel like, sure, why not? If it just keeps advancing more and more, like, why could it not someday? But the caveat there for me is, like, I think by the time we hit a someday, it's like, I don't know, like the landscape of how humans do work in general is very different. I don't even know what that would look like. There's a hyper focus on this stuff for software developers, right? I think I'm trying to channel what the other person's comment was on the previous video on this, but they're saying, like, hey, it's like, if you think about it, programming is sort of in the crosshairs of AI because it's close to it. And if you're able to use AI to focus on programming for AI, you can kind of get this, like, this feedback loop where, like, you can kind of use AI to enhance AI. Like, I think that was kind of their frame of thought. I think that's interesting, right? I think that the proximity of, like, software development to AI is, like, you have software developers that are making AI things. So, like, why would it not be a thing that they look to start enhancing, like, as a first class, set of things to go improve upon? Like, it's right there. It makes sense to me, but I think this idea of replacing people is just pretty far out there. And again, just to kind of bring it back to what I haven't even heard Zuckerberg actually say, is that it may not have been actually focused on, we don't we just get rid of humans because we don't need them as software engineers at this level, but maybe more around like we think that AI could be as productive as, and I don't know how you define that necessarily. The complexity of work, the throughput of work, both. Maybe an interesting thing like that would be fascinating. I just don't believe it for this year. And the thing that I tried to mention in the other video was really around like, how does this look in practice? And I think there's a couple people that were like, oh, you're overcomplicating it. It's like very straightforward. But like, are you telling me that I'm overcomplicating it as someone who's like run engineering teams for over 12 years? Like, it's literally what I do for work. And if I don't understand how I would start like incorporating AI at that level or replacing people, I don't know. Like, this is literally what I do as my job, is managing software engineers. So I think that falls apart, in my opinion. The argument falls apart when it's about replacing people. However, if you wanted to try and make the claim, no, it's the equivalent to taking one engineer that when you give them, AI assistance at this level, that they now have the throughput or the capabilities of two engineers, however you want to kind of look at that. I think that's a very difficult thing to quantify. Sorry, someone was pulling up to the left turn lane and like I didn't think they were going to stop, to the point where I was like, am I running a red light? But no, they're just moving a little bit too far. But I lost it. It's gone. Talking about replacing people. Yeah, like I don't know how you quantify, like, hey, apparently people have figured it out. I manage teams, and I don't know how you do this exactly, but one engineer assisted with AI at this level means that you have the productivity of two engineers. Like, I don't know how you measure it, but I think that's a much more feasible thing to try and claim. I just think that the timeline is off. And I think there are people right now that are finding, and like, it's not my experience, I guess, but people that are finding they are not getting productivity boosts from AI. Some people might say, oh, skill issue. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm not here to tell you like, oh, you must be stupid, you're doing it wrong. Not for me to say. If you're finding that you're developing software and trying to leverage AI and it's not speeding you up, or it's actually slowing you down, like, that's interesting to me. Is it truly you're not comfortable with working with it, or like you're doing it in an inefficient way? Holy shit, that was hard to say. Is that what's happening, or is it really just like, you're putting actually good prompts and good data in, and you're getting garbage out? My dude, this person tried to turn right, except they almost drove over the sidewalk. I really have to get this channel to another level so I can have 2 cameras. Please help me get there so I can have 2 cameras and pay an editor to stitch this shit together, because I unfortunately have to live these experiences and then tell you them because like it needs to be heard. But I wish you could see it, because you can't make this shit up. But anyway, I'm parking. This is definitely more of a ranty video. Oh my God, someone's coming. I can't see anything. Not all of them are this ranty, but I just saw a lot of comments. I had a super long day at work. I got to the office for 6 in the morning, and it is 7:30 right now, so long day for me. But other videos I make, I try to be a little bit more helpful. I just wanted to respond to comments, talk about it a little bit more, because there was a lot of There's a lot of back and forth on this stuff. So if you have other questions you want answered, let me know in the comments. Like I said, send a message to Dev Leader on any social media channel you want. I will try my best to help. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking to the end, and I will see you next time. Take care.